I would say people are going to start coming in soon. So I'm actually recording now. So Brian's talking with Deb, but I don't know that whether we're on Webinar Jam. It should, Mike, as soon as we're live on Webinar Jam, that where it says it's off air right now,
right,
will turn to yellow. So
okay.
I don't know what we're gonna. So just because people start coming on Blab, and I still am not sure whether Blab is right or whether it's Blob. So by the way, Hosting Networks, thanks for coming on. Glad to have you with us here. And we're going to get started here on Blab. We're actually simulcasting here today, also on Webinar Jam. We're having a little bit of technical issue with Webinar Jam. Right now on the Blab screen, we've got myself, Wayne Dorban. I go by Dr. Ecolonomics. And this is our Ecolonomics in Action Webinar Jam huddle, we call it, or Blab. We're excited to have Mike Warren with us today, who is to my right, I believe, on the Blab screen. And Mike is going to be our guest, and we'll be chatting with him. We've also got two of our partners, Bob Christador and Teresa Tierney, that are on, and they're on the Blab screen, in my case, on the bottom side here. And they're going to go in and out. And anybody who wants to come in, you can actually tell us. We're going to probably ask Teresa to jump off in a second. What does Deb say about Webinar Jam? Well, that's fine. If we need to go live so that we've got people.
Yeah, she said the slides don't work, but
okay, it's actually gone. Well, she went live and then it went off. So, all right. Well, it went live for a second and then went off. So tell her she's on now, actually. So, yeah, now she's come back. So I think we're having some technical issues with our Webinar Jam side of this. Well, the Blab's working great.
Yep.
Teresa, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then maybe we'll ask you to jump out, and we'll see if other people want to come in.
Sure. I'm Teresa Tierney, and I'm happy to be working with Mike at Alternative Health Concepts, helping out with some of the marketing. He's got some amazing products and an amazing mission to help people to improve their health in all natural ways. So to try to get away from the pharmaceutical way of doing everything, which seems to be the mainstream medical way that we're always told about, but not often told about how we can do it ourselves and help ourselves, and a better lifestyle, better diet, supplements. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Mike has to say today.
Hope you're not disappointed.
Never.
All right. Well, Teresa, I'm going to actually leave open a seat there for where you're at. You'll still be obviously listening. And if we end up having an open spot, we'll add you back in. We've got several of our staff members on here with us today. Bob's going to co-host this with me. So we're going to start doing a Blab once a week with Mike and Bob and Teresa and I as being sort of rotating hosts. And we're going to be interviewing experts in the field of alternative health. And so we'll continue to do our Economics in Actions Blab/Webinar Jam on Wednesdays every other week. But we're also going to be doing this additional Blab. We really like this media. Deb is struggling, obviously, and we're not able to be online. I can't do anything, so. All right, log back in again. She's telling us that she's having a struggle with Webinar Jam. Well, that's a good reason that we have a backup here. I get that Hosting Network that's on here. If you guys want to say hi, that'd be great. I'm going to jump off of Teresa and say open up a seat. And again, this is an introduction to what will become a regular feature of Blabs that we do with Mike and with guests that he has, and Bob will be. So Bob, why don't you say a few words? Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Bob Christador. Wayne and I have been partners for a couple of years now and working towards helping everybody become healthy, wealthy, and wise. And we're going to start with health today by talking about alternative health. I was in the employee benefits business for many years, and my biggest admonition to all of my customers and their employees was really you have to become your own doctor, because the health profession today is nothing more than a consulting group, is the way it should be viewed. And it's very important for all of us to take in information and make our own decisions. And I'm really excited about alternative health. It's always been something that I've been an advocate for. And I think Mike's got a lot of things to offer to everybody that wants to pursue that line of thinking. So I'll leave it at that. And if you want me to talk to Mike a little bit while you're trying to work out the webinar stuff, I will.
Awesome. Well, actually, we're struggling a little with Webinar Jam, but we'll go ahead and get started here. And then if we get Webinar Jam on, we'll catch people up. Again, anybody who comes on live with us, if you'd like to have a seat and ask Mike some questions as we go along here, please do so. And we'll acknowledge you. We've got several other of our staff that are helping us kind of monitor any questions that people might have, and please feel free to do that. So with no further ado, let me go ahead and just introduce Mike. And it looks like Deb is actually getting Webinar Jam potentially running here. And so we'll be able to see and what's going on. We're going to maybe go on air here in a second. So if everybody doesn't know, by the way, Webinar Jam is another platform. It's one that we've been using for a long time to broadcast webinars all over the world for almost 2 years. And then prior to that, we used GoToMeeting. We just thought we'd be trying a simulcast. We actually did it a little bit last time. The problem was we didn't have a mic on all of us, so we couldn't hear it. But today we're struggling without, she's just not getting online for whatever reason. So anyway, Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Quiet. Awesome.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, why don't you start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of your business life history leading up to alternative health concepts that take us up to that point.
Okay. My name's Mike Warren, president of Alternative Health Concepts. We formed this company, my father and I, who's Dr. Warren, formed this company about 3 years ago. And I've been in sales, I've been in management, upper management, vice president of sales for packaging. I was mainly in the packaging industry before I got involved with this. And I had two other businesses, a packaging company and a freight and logistics company here in Southern California. That's where I live. And ended up selling both of those companies. When we had the downturn, we had an opportunity to sell them, and we took that opportunity. And I was not really just floating around, but kind of wondering what I wanted to do. My father, in the meantime, had been working with this particular product that we sell, BioPro Plus, which is an immune stimulant. And my dad, being a veterinarian, wasn't quite into the marketing side of things. Was having some wonderful success, just helping people change their lives, and people that had cancer, anybody that needs to boost their immune system, was having some marvelous success with this product. So we got together and said, how can we get this to the masses? I was just becoming very interested, I guess you would say, in sales through the internet. And so we formed the company, and we went off marching down the road trying to figure out how to sell this to the masses and change people's lives by the thousands instead of by the tens and hundreds that we were doing, talking to friends and friends of friends and that sort of thing. So we got to that point and formed the company. We've been doing it. I was doing it most of the internet marketing myself, and about almost a year ago, not even quite a year ago, I was in a conference in San Diego about internet marketing, and I met you, and the rest is history, so to speak. And now we've formed a partnership and with Implator, your company, and one of your companies, and just doing some marvelous things. I'm really, really excited about what's going on right now.
Awesome. Tell us a little more now about your dad and a little bit of his history. I know that we actually have a very cool video we're going to be releasing where we interviewed your dad and one of the other early pioneers in this immune system area, Rick Beardsley, and I learned a lot of things there, but the group hasn't. Your dad's not only a veterinarian, but a real entrepreneur, I know. So tell us a little bit about your dad. and what his role has been.
Well, obviously he's my dad, so I get to see all sides of him, but I would call him a character. He's a great man. He's literally probably one of the smartest, most intelligent men that I've ever met or got to know. Obviously he's a doctor, was raised, he'll be 80 this year, as in April. And he still practices veterinary medicine 6 days a week. Very, very active at the local race circuit here in Southern California, thoroughbred racehorses. And he's done a myriad of things, but obviously health and well-being of animals was his first love, and that's why he became a veterinarian. Along the lines, he's had several ranches that he's owned, horse ranches, breeding operations, training operations for thoroughbred horses. He's the one that developed a thing that we have now in humans, but 20 years ago, he started a company called Aquatread, and it was an underwater treadmill for racehorses. And they had jacuzzi jets hitting their legs, and they would walk into this big jacuzzi for horses. And there was a treadmill, a hydraulic treadmill on the bottom that the horses would run on. And they still use them today. Now they're used in humans, and that technology has advanced greatly. So to say he was an entrepreneur, yeah, he was a big entrepreneur. Yeah, he owned land and did things that way. So, but everything came back around to his veterinary practice. And about 15 years ago, he got into a good friend of his, dear friend, who was mentioned, Rick Beardsley, had this product and developed this product called BioPro Plus. And he got together with Rick, and they perfected it and made some changes and made some tweaks to it, to the formula, and got it to where it is today. And that's what brings us to today, as was his love for science, but also his love for humankind and wanting to help people like he was able to help animals. And that's where we are today with him. He's an advocate for alternative health. He understands the science far greater than I do on what this product actually does in the body, and why it's so beneficial, and why it's crucial if you have any kind of immune repression, which all of us get to after the age of 40. So I'm not going to go into too much of that right now, but at any rate, it's exciting to be partners with a man that I've looked up to my whole life, literally.
By the way, I don't know if you guys notice it, and it's probably backwards, isn't it? In terms of text?
No, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Oh wow.
Yep.
I'm able to put it on the screen now. We're still struggling to get online, but at least we're seeing it here for those folks that are out here on Blob right now. So Mike, that was great. That was a great explanation and description of your dad. I'll tell you, as time goes on, I think everybody's going to really learn to appreciate him more. And that said, he will be our first guest that we have on our first AHC, or Alternative Health Concepts Blab, that we do next week. And so on next Monday at, I believe, is at 3 o'clock Mountain, 3 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Mountain, Mike, is that right?
Yes, correct. 3 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah, we'll be putting out the subscription for that here on Blob as soon as we're finished with this presentation today. So I have no idea why we're struggling with webinar, but we're not going to worry about it. Bob, do you have any sort of off the start here questions for Mike before I go into a few of the other things that I wanted to cover?
Well, the thing that I really enjoy understanding about is the value of the immune system to overall health, particularly as I'm aging and the rest of the people that I know are, my age. We're always wondering, what can we do to stay healthier, stay longer? And I always talk about the singular big health event that everybody has in their life, and that changes their life from that point forward, and trying to avoid having that event occur as long as possible. We're all going to have one, but we just don't know when it's going to happen. I've been fortunate so far, and I've got great genes. But anyway, the point is the immune system really is an important ingredient, if not the most important ingredient. And the protein that's in the BioPro Plus, Mike, can you just speak to the issue about why the immune system is so important and why the protein that you've discovered that's unique to BioPro Plus is the secret sauce to that whole process?
Sure. And real quickly and very simply put, without your immune system functioning properly, you cannot live. You can take it down to a certain point and it'll still function. For instance, patients that going through chemotherapy, let's say. What chemotherapy does, it's a poison that they're putting into your body that kills cells. The problem with it is it kills both living and mutant cells, good viable cells and mutant cells. So what they do is they literally take your immune system down to almost zero, to where it isn't operating, to kill or decimate all the cancer cells that they're trying to kill in your body. So with that said, if they kept going, they take you to that fine line, they would kill you. And in many cases, unfortunately, chemotherapy does happen to kill people because it isn't an exact science. Where that edge of the cliff is with your immune system, nobody exactly knows. But once you completely lose your ability to fight pathogens, you do not any longer have the ability to live, because what our bodies do is every day, everybody's body, cancer, let's just use that for an example, produces cancer cells. Cancer cells are nothing more than mutant cells that have mutated. They're normal, healthy cells that have mutated for a myriad of reasons in our bodies. So that gets us back to why this protein is so important. Our thymus gland is a gland in our body that is key and central to the immune system. It is the gland that regulates our immune system. We have our heart that pumps our blood. We have our kidneys that filter, liver that filters. The thymus gland produces these proteins called thymic proteins that modulate and regulate the immune system. So at about age 40, the way our bodies are designed is that gland shrinks up to where it's producing very, very little of these proteins. In fact, probably by the age of 50, it's hardly measurable, the proteins that it's producing. It peaks somewhere right around puberty, we know that, producing these proteins. And why these proteins are so important, one of the key parts of the immune cell function are these little cells called helper cells, or CD4 cells. Those are produced in the bone marrow. We produce millions, if not more, every single day. Now, what this protein, now those CD4 cells are like, they're centurions, or they're part of the little army that goes through your body and are looking for pathogens, looking for cancer cells, viruses, bacteria, any number of cells that aren't normal or aren't healthy within our body. And then when they find those cells go out to, they put a marker on that mutant cell, and then those cells, the CD4 cells, go find what's called a killer cell or a CD8 cell. And they tell that CD8 cell where the pathogen is, or the mutant cell is, and then that cell goes and kills it and destroys it and gets rid of it and flushes it out of our body through a natural process. So what's so important about this protein, as we get older and as we age, we no longer produce the protein, and the CD4 cells are not able to do their job, even though we're producing millions of them every day, because they haven't been programmed or charged or synthesized with this particular protein. And so without it, as we get older, our ability to fight infection, to fight cancer, to fight any pathogen that enters our body, virus, bacteria, is no longer as good as it was. When you're in your 20s, late teens, you hardly ever got sick because of that exact thing. Your immune system was functioning optimally. You were producing tons of thymic protein. All your CD4 cells were being charged or programmed, and you could go about and do anything and not get sick. Obviously, children today, some children, unfortunately, have a immune repression, and they need this protein also at that point. So that's what it does in a nutshell. I hope I didn't go on too long there, but it's a very,
I just
very
want to take
critical
you
protein.
to your personal story, though, because you said that teenagers and young people don't get sick, but that wasn't true for you.
No, it wasn't, actually. Yeah, so going back to me, my own story, I was one of those unfortunate ones that literally my parents realized it when I was 3. I'm going to be 57 next month. So that was quite some time ago, and I was diagnosed with childhood asthma. And I can remember, luckily, my dad was a doctor, even though he was a veterinarian. He still had needles, and he could still give me shots of epinephrine or whatever in the middle of the night when I couldn't even breathe, instead of rushing me to the hospital. So I was lucky that way. And that was a frequent occurrence as I was growing up. So all through my childhood, teens, I was healthy, but what would happen with the asthma, either due to allergies, I could never eat peanuts, for example, or I just was allergic to everything. So growing up, I couldn't eat chocolate. So I always had to have the vanilla cake at my birthday. Couldn't have the chocolate cake.
It's okay.
So,
that was my choice anyway.
yeah. So at Easter, I had the white chocolate Easter bunny, not the dark chocolate or milk chocolate. But at any rate, so I went through. The other thing that induced my asthma was exercise, and I played football and did all the baseball and did all the sports that young boys would like to do. But the problem is, I would get out on the football field and we'd start running laps or just start exerting ourselves, and we'd being on grass that I was highly allergic to. I would just shut down. My lungs would start constricting. I couldn't breathe, and I had to take a time out. I had to use a Ventolin inhaler, and I was on all kinds of medications. I used to get allergy shots twice a week for about 10 years as a preteen, 8 through about 12, I would say. I was getting shots twice a week, and then it went to once a week. Antigen shots, trying to reverse the symptoms. None of that really worked. I went on, as I got into my 20s and 30s, young adulthood, I still was addicted to the Ventolin. I was on 3 different medications. I had an Advair inhaler probably 10 years ago when that first came out. So, but was addicted to the Ventolin. And as you know, anything like that is really, it tears up your lungs. And I would probably hit that thing 10 to 20 times a day. Couldn't leave the house. I would be panicked if I didn't have that inhaler on me, because if I got anywhere and my lungs started tightening up, I had to do that. Well, about 3.5 years ago, when my dad and I got together and started this company, we happened to use this product in racehorses, which is a whole nother story. But I was going to the racetrack every day with my dad, 6 days a week. And it's a dusty environment. If it happened to be windy and hot, like it is often here in Southern California, my asthma would just flare up. And I was taking Advair, I was taking an oral pill, and then I was taking my Ventolin inhaler many times a day. And I can remember one day my asthma started getting it, and I was having hay fever result because it was windy and it was hot and dusty. There was dust blowing all around the racetrack. I took one of the vials of our BioPro 500, and within minutes, literally about 20 minutes, my symptoms were gone. And I thought, Dad, I thought this was for people with cancer, and I thought this was for people that were really sick. I had used it for cold and flu, but never for asthma. Well, asthma's an immune problem, just like many other diseases are, and it's all centered with the immune system. So, long story short, I went on a very heavy regimen after that of the BioPro, and today I am symptom-free from asthma. 3.5 years later, I do not even carry a Ventolin inhaler. In fact, I don't have one in my house. Advair is long gone. That cost me $45 a month for that one prescription. So probably over $100 a month I'm saving in prescriptions alone. But the point is, I am basically asthma-free, and because of the BioPro. That's the only thing that I did different, by the way. It's the only thing. So there you have it.
I just have to relate this story. I was watching a movie the other day called Intolerable Cruelties, and there's a character in it called Wheezy Joe. I won't tell you what happens because it really would ruin the scene in the movie, but if anybody's interested in what happens to Wheezy Joe, who confuses a gun and his inhaler, it's funny.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Really. So, I don't know. Wayne looks like he's trying to get something going on with the computer over there.
I'm actually just showing different pages on the Alternative Healthcare website. And,
okay.
Just showing a couple of blog articles. This is one that was just written. Obviously, you're not going to be able to read it as you're looking at this, but you can see the picture. That's pretty cool. Nice little image, which brings me to a thought, which is that Reed, man, you're on. I see Reed just came on. Mark, who, if he wants to ask for a seat here, is the author of this article, probably, or if not the author, he actually was heavily involved in the writing process, and certainly was involved with this image, helping put it together, which is actually a really cool image with a little bit of a graphic on it. So, Mark, if you wanted to ask for a chair here, go ahead and do so. And then anybody who's got questions, here we go. We got Mark asking to come in. Let's just let Mark jump in. And he'll be joining here in a second. And Mike, by the way,
yes.
You've worked with him a lot, but have you ever seen him? So there's Mark.
I've seen a picture of him.
Hey, Mike.
Mark, how are
I've
you?
only seen the picture of myself. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Bob. Yeah, well, about that picture, it kind of shows the pain you have when you got migraine, and that's written by Talha, by the way. When he's one of our best writers right now.
Awesome! Wow, this is very cool. But who did the image, Mark? Did you?
Yes, I did that.
Very cool. I'm going to jump to another one here. You know what, Mike? Can you think of a website that would give maybe some graphics on the cells that you were describing earlier? If so, I'll actually try to find it and put it up on the screen here so folks can look at it.
Well, I don't have a website. I have some pictures of it. No, I don't off the top of my head have any websites that would actually show that, other than there may be something on our website on one of the blogs that we had, but I don't think we've actually gone into that much detail.
Okay, I actually have.
Where we have pictures
I have
of
seen them. I've actually seen them, Mike. I just thought if you remembered one, I'll actually try to find it here. And Teresa just asked the question: how long did you take BioPro Plus before you stopped using Advair?
That's a good question. Probably, I would say it was about a year. It may be a little less. I went through a procedure where I was actually nebulizing the BioPro and getting it way down into my lungs. And I noticed an immediate turnaround where after about, within 6 months, I was no longer taking the Ventolin. I still carried it with me, but I got down to where I just wasn't using it anymore. And about 3 months after that, when I just realized that I didn't need the Ventolin anymore, I didn't know if it was the Advair or not. This was all self-doctored, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for anybody. But
I disagree.
Okay,
that's the right answer, actually.
Well, it may be, and I just, the little disclaimers out there. I don't want to tell anybody to do something without talking to their doctor. I don't want to be responsible, but.
Right.
So just putting logic together, I didn't know if it was the Advair that was doing it or the BioPro or the combination. So I weaned myself off the Ventolin, and then I just stopped cold turkey with the Advair. No, that's not true. I was taking Advair morning and night, and I went to just once a day for about 2 months. And then I literally had no need at all for the Ventolin. And so then I quit the Advair. So it was probably about 9 months total, to answer your question, Teresa. Thanks for that.
Awesome. Mark, do you have any specific? You always have great questions in the webinars. As you know, you've seen it. We're having a problem with Webinar Jam today, which I'm not quite sure why. And Deb's just up there working away, trying to get it to work, but and she's not getting it done. But do you have any specific questions for Mike that you can think of?
First of all, how does it how is the taste of your product? Like, if somebody takes it, how would it taste? Would it be natural or like chemical kind of thing?
That's a good question. I've had different people respond differently. For me personally, we have 2 products. We call it BioPro Plus 100, which are little individual packets. And I should probably go excuse myself and get one and show you. I forgot to do that. But at any rate, you put it under your tongue sublingually. That has some maltodextrin in it, which is a naturally kind of a sweet taste. And so that one is not any problem at all. The other one is the pure protein, and it's called BioPro 500. It comes in a 2-vial set where we have a little vial of 4 cc's of a silver solution,
I'll go get one.
Which has no taste, and then the protein itself that is the pure protein. And when you mix those 2 together, I get it's a funny little taste. Now, I've had people say they can't stand it, and I've had people say they don't taste it. And I don't know for the life of me whether it's just people's difference in their tasters or what that may be. But it's got a funny little taste, but to me it's not offensive at all. And I've never had anybody say they couldn't take it because it tasted bad.
Great.
By the way, guys, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, because if a child wants to take it, like, it's often difficult for children to take medicine. So it's kind of, I'm saying, would they like it, or is it not recommended for children?
It's absolutely recommended. In fact, we would recommend with children to use the BioPro 100. It's easy to pour. You just pour it under their tongue, and it just dissolves. And if they don't keep it under their tongue and they get it on top of their tongue, it's no big deal. They're still going to absorb plenty of it. I have a 2-year. There's the BioPro 500, and those are little individual vials.
Let me interrupt just a second, Mike. Bob, why don't you open it up and show what the vials, because Mike was talking about that before. You can kind of show what they look like so people can see them here.
So this is the individual package. Is it coming backwards to you guys?
No, it's coming perfect.
It's the same thing that I asked.
That's weird.
Mark, those are great questions. Taste is really important for children. And and let me give you my experience, because I've used BioPro Plus in a little different way, and I'll describe here in a minute. There it is. So in one of those vials, the one that Bob's got that is in his right hand, has got the powder, and all he does is takes the top off, and he actually takes the top off the liquid, and he pours the liquid in, shakes it up just a little bit. You put it in your mouth, and you just swirl it around in your mouth.
Like mouthwash.
The directions say for the directions.
Tastes a little bit like mouthwash.
Yeah, actually, I don't think the taste is bad. Honestly, I've taken it several times because I use it a little bit differently. I'm going to give you my story in just a minute. But I didn't think that there was any kind of a taste that would be disturbing for a child.
No, it's not disturbing. It's a little chalky tasting, I think. It leaves a little residue.
Yeah.
Cup of coffee afterwards, gone. I have it for breakfast.
Mark, I'm going to...
By the way, real quick, let me interject on that point that he just made. It's best to not eat anything or drink anything for about 15 minutes before or after taking the whether it's the BioPro 100, the packets, or the BioPro 500. That's because your mouth will continue to absorb, and we want to absorb as much as you can. It's absorbed through the mucous membranes in your mouth, and that's our delivery system. It goes right into the bloodstream from there. And if you were to happen to, let's say you drink some orange juice initially right after it, the protein's a very sensitive protein. It could have some effect as far as killing it or damaging it to where it's not going to have any effect. It's not going to hurt you, but at all. But getting back to Mark's question real quick, I have a 2-year-old granddaughter and a 5-year-old grandson. Both of, whenever they've gotten sick, they've both taken the BioPro. It works just as good for them as it does for any adult. And I would never, ever, in 1,000 years, give my grandchildren anything that I thought could in any way harm them. Never.
Awesome.
Well, in fact, isn't there some issue? Isn't there some benefit to this product from the side effect standpoint? Is that there are none?
Absolutely, because again, this protein is bioidentical to the protein that is made in your body. Your body has no way of differentiating it, even though it does not come from a human source. All mammals have a thymus gland. All mammals create this exact same protein. So that's why we can call it a bioidentical protein. Your body cannot tell the difference that it was made in yours or somebody else's or a different animal. And that is the beauty of it. And that is why there are literally no side effects. And you cannot overdose on it. You literally can't. I've taken as many of 5 doses of the vials that you just showed that is a much higher concentrate of the protein that we use in racehorses. And I've taken 5 in a day with no effects at all. So I've been the guinea pig on this for me, because I'm not going to recommend anything to anybody that's going to hurt somebody. Right. We're just not going to do it.
You know, and I watch a lot of golf, and on those golf programs, because on the target market, you know, the plus 60 people who are experiencing issues and they're taking drugs for it, and the drug manufacturers advertise incessantly. And if you had to watch all the commercials, which I don't, fortunately, because I can fast forward through them, 50% of the commercial is about all the side effects, and they actually are very irritating to listen to them. So it's very encouraging to find a way to deal with health issues that don't come equipped with all kinds of negative issues along with it.
But by the way, I'm going to jump in a little bit here because Teresa just made a nice comment. Mark, I'm going to actually replace you here with Areeb first, and then because he asked a question, and actually it's one that you've been dealing with, Mike. And I'm going to add, if Areeb wants to jump on, Areeb, just ask for a space. Mark, thanks for coming on. And please ask some other questions in here. And then I'm going to let Teresa come on after Areeb, because she's actually got a great answer, because she has kids, and she says here, and the kids like to. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, Mark, for a second, and then we'll come back in with either Areeb or Teresa. You bet. By the way, you know what it says, guys, when you are going to replace someone with somebody else? It says kick.
Boot him out.
So I booted him out one time. But Teresa says, nice to see Mark, by the way. So Reeb's coming on here. And I know that he does not have a camera. So you're hearing him. So he's not just a black screen. That's not what Areeb looks like.
Areeb's not a black
hole. He's got a different look. So, and by the way, we've just got someone else come on here. Appreciate you guys coming on from. This is Federico. Thanks for coming and sharing with us here, and appreciate you. And interestingly, logo NATCA. You might explain to us what that is in the chat, or if you'd like to come on board. So, Areeb, why don't you ask the question that you asked here?
Yes, I did ask about these allergies. Like, is there any allergic reaction to this, or did you experience anyone saying that I got allergic to this medicine or something like that? Because people do.
Yes, that has been an issue, although it's very small with the BioPro 100, because of the maltodextrin that's in it, that is the carrier for the protein. There's literally, it's hard to see almost the amount of the protein because it's such a little amount, but yet so effective. So people that may be gluten intolerant, because maltodextrin has a very trace amount of gluten, we've had 2 people that I know of that had some sort of reaction. We still don't know 100% if it was from the BioPro or not. We suspect it was, based on what they said, and that's the only other thing they had. So if that's the case, we recommend going easy if you have that. But with that said, it's one of the reasons that my father created the BioPro 500, which has no allergens in it at all. So we've never had anybody have allergic reaction from the BioPro 500. That was the 2 vials that Bob held up earlier, because it's a silver solution that is non-allergenic, and the protein itself is non-allergenic because it is the same protein your body produces.
That is in us. Oh, okay. I don't agree. That is great.
So, Reed, do you have
That
any other
answers my question.
Any other
No,
questions?
sir.
for Mike?
I think I only had this one because for me, this is a layman thing. That if I'm taking anything, will it be allergic? Will there be any side effects? So he told me about, like, there are no side effects, but yes, allergic. But I think you told us the other thing, the other one, Bio 500, I guess.
Yes, the BioPro 500.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a strong thing, I guess.
By the way, I will say this, and Arib, I want you to. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I know something about Arib that's pretty significant as it relates to taking things like this. Why don't you tell the audience what you do in your day that is sort of sports related, where possibly a product like this could be very helpful for you when your body gets run down. So what is it that you do as a big part of your life, actually?
Well, I play rugby. I'm a national player of Pakistan, and I have represented my company many times. Like, I have 19 caps right now, and the thing is that I got injured, and I'm trying to get back to my team. For the last 2 years, my ligament got damaged, and now I'm trying really hard. It is okay, but still, it's not good enough to be on the team. So, yeah, I'm trying really hard for that, and I think this product if it can help me, I will take it anytime.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about, and I know Wayne knows about this, people that are super athletes, and I would consider what you do as a super athlete, by the way. Your immune system is all immune systems go down by stress, whether it be athletic stress or simply the mental stress that we all endure every day with our jobs. That is a big, big factor. It's one of the biggest factors that repress the immune system. So people that run marathons, for example, or that are doing sports such as high rugby, high physical sport, it's a tremendous stress on your body. And we have found, and if you'll see it if you follow any professional sports at all, that a lot of these guys will miss games, and gals will miss games or events because they get sick. Now, particularly with marathon runners, we actually have a blog, one of our blogs that is on our site, I believe, that talks about the stress that marathon running puts on your body, or really any long distance running at all. And for 3 days following an event or a marathon, people are highly susceptible to any kind of sickness because their body is literally stressed. They have literally run their immune system down so much. So it's a fantastic adjunct to add to your supplementation program if you're any kind of athletic. Even if you're a backyard enthusiast that likes to go run a couple miles a day, you're putting stress on your body, and this will help alleviate you getting those nagging colds or viruses every time they come around.
Oh, great.
Well, and just for anybody else who's watching is interested in being part of the blogs, you can get the blogs from alternativehealthconcepts.com, and there's a dash between each of the words.
Maybe Teresa.
Bob, why don't you write it on the screen, or Teresa can.
Teresa could.
We're on here. And by the way, I'm going to jump you off of Reeb here to see if anybody else wants to jump on to ask Mike any questions. So Reeb, thanks for coming on with us, and you keep trying to get healthy so you can end up playing again for your national team. That's a great thing. Yes. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Okay. Well, we've got an open seat here, and I know we've got several other people out in the audience. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask Mike related to alternative health concepts and specifically BioPro Plus, we've gotten some great ones already. Teresa, I said that I'd open it up for you. Obviously, Federico, if you'd like to come in, Charles, if you'd like to come on in, we'd certainly love to have you. And again, I said this in a little note, but I sure appreciate your work, Charles, that you did. You're retired now from the air traffic controllers. A lot of us fly quite a bit, and we certainly appreciate everything you've done. So thank you. And Bob's put on the screen here the website for Alternative Health Concepts. You can go to the blog, and Teresa's coming on here now, and we'll chat with her. By the way, Teresa's in Ireland. This is such an amazing place, everybody. I know that Arif is in Pakistan. Mark was in Bangladesh. My battery's now telling me on my phone that it's going dead, so I'm going to have to switch.
Plug it in.
Plug it in here real quick. So anyway, Teresa, why don't you ask your question? That was a great well, actually, it was a comment. You were talking about the taste, and tell us why you might know that, about how kids might react to the taste.
Sure, and then I have actually a follow-up question for Mike as well. But I have 2 children, one 8 and one 10, and we've given them the BioPro 100. So just the powder under their tongue, it's very sweet tasting, and they have no problem just holding it under their tongues. And it's worked well with them. And I am also an asthma sufferer, and I've been excitedly hearing all the things Mike's been telling me about BioPro for those symptoms, and I've taken Ventolin for years, and I've been inhaled steroid. It's not the same thing as the Advair, but it changes my voice. It gives me sore throats, and I'm just excited to hear how you felt physically after being able to go off of these prescriptions. Did you notice the difference in your well-being and in your lungs and in your throat?
Absolutely. It was like night and day. I used to tell my dad I didn't know I could breathe this deep before, even with the Ventolin. And I think it may be because of the Ventolin, taking so much every day. The little cylinder that goes down in the inhaler, one of those is supposed to last a month. That would last me about 2 weeks. And any rate, I was going through them like candy. And I could never take a real deep breath, but now I can do that, and I guess it's what a normal person feels. Having been 50 years of abnormal, never being able to take a deep breath without coughing and wheezing, I can just say it's different. It's a great feeling, and it's something that. What's odd about it is we never really thought about asthma as being a thing that BioPro could help with. It was by chance, and that was because of the issue that I dealt with. So again, any problem that has to do with an immune system issue, any disease that is immune related, which technically all of them are. We had one lady that I was talking to the other day that called about an issue she was having, and so we got to chatting, and I asked her what her situation was. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and she's on a myriad of drugs, and she's trying to get off of most of the pharmaceutical drugs, the synthetic drugs produced by the pharmaceutical companies, and she's doing a lot of natural things. Well, one of the things that she noticed, this is by her own state, and if she goes off the BioPro for any length of time, even just a few days, her body comes out of whack and she starts getting pain in her legs from the rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I know that stands to reason because rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. So if we're stimulating the immune system, it will help with that autoimmune effect, which is where the body is trying to reject its own immunity, so to speak. That's the purpose. That's what happens with autoimmune. And but I thought it was interesting that she has to have the BioPro because it's the one thing that if she stops taking, it puts her body out of balance, was her exact words. So I just, again, anything that is immune related, BioPro will help.
Makes sense.
Excellent.
By the way, she came and left real quick, but if you followed Bob at all very much, we just had one of the administrators that was just on here with us for a second, named Hannah Russell. She actually will send out messages to you. You'll see them sometimes coming from Bob. And she was on for just a second, and she went away. I actually gave her a welcome here. And anybody else, if you'd like to come on in, maybe just leave a little note, and we'll ask Teresa maybe to jump out. But
Sure.
I wanted to ask Mike a couple other questions here. Mike, you've got a couple really excellent testimonials for, well, you've got a lot of them, but specifically, you talked about how the product was originally developed for horses, and there's a really cool story about us that's actually named after the product. And the reason for that doesn't have anything to do with the horse, really. It has to do with the owner of the horse and the fact that the product was used. Could you give us that story a little bit?
Yeah, so
everybody.
As I mentioned, my father's a veterinarian at the racetrack, the local circuit, thoroughbred race horses here in Southern California. And they were giving, wasn't quite right what you said. The product was originally developed for humans. My dad started using it as soon as he got a hold of it. He thought that he could use it for horses and help with their immune system, is because race horses, back to athletics, are very highly stressed animals. Their immune system are constantly up and down because of the stress that we put on them, and their environment, which is another stressor on the immune system. They live in a stall 23 out of 24 hours a day. There's high pollen, there's high dander, there's high mold, there's all these different stress levels that knock down their immune system. So my dad was giving it to different trainers' horses that wanted to try it out, that trusted my dad on that. And one of them happened to be this gentleman that owned this horse, and his wife contracted cancer. And she had been through the traditional chemotherapy and radiation. I don't know if she had surgery or not. But the doctors basically said, hey, we've done all we can do. The cancer has come back. We can't go any further with her. And the trainer happened to be taking the BioPro. And he asked my dad, could you get some for this lady who happened to be one of his clients? And so absolutely, he got it to her. Long story short, doctors, I think, gave her, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 months to live. And she went on to live about 3 years with a high degree of quality of life, which is what obviously we all want. If we're in bed and bedridden, that 3 years doesn't mean anything. Well, her husband was so impressed with what BioPro did for his family and for his wife that he asked my dad, would you mind if I named a horse BioPro? And my dad said, no. Great, let's do it. And so he did. And that horse is still racing today, I believe. I know he was a year and a half ago in New York, I believe now. He was out here on the West Coast circuit. And that horse went on to win a couple stakes races and win several $100,000 for the owner. And we get a little shot out there every time he runs with BioPro. So you can look him up online. He's a thoroughbred, and I think he was in Saratoga in New York on that racing circuit.
He's still racing, and I'm going to actually show a picture of him here in a second.
Oh, great.
Actually, I just put in a search for BioPro Plus for the names, and I'm going to show you a picture of him because there he is right there. And there he is with his racing gear on. And as you can maybe see over here, it says, I get mixed up with the directions, but it says BioPro Plus the horse.
Yep.
We got it here. Can you guys see that? Can you see the horse name there? And then maybe I'm gonna highlight a couple other pictures. Tell us about this lady's story, Mike, and just briefly. And then again, if anyone else has any other questions, Teresa, I think I'm gonna maybe knock you out of here for a second again, kick you, as they say, and then allow anybody else, if they've got a question, to come in. Thanks, and we'll probably say hi. At the very end of this, we're going to do something a little bit fun, to kind of a little bit of tour of our offices here, which are brand new for us. Literally yesterday was our first day in this, so I'm just going to kind of take a walk around.
Great.
But Mike, why don't you talk to us about the lady that we're seeing on the screen right now, because I think she's actually a testimonial that you got on the website.
Yes, it is. In fact, you can go to that website that Teresa put on and see her testimonial and watch it. It's really moving. But Julie had cancer, and she talks about what kind of cancer it was and everything. And so she went right before she started her chemotherapy. A doctor friend of hers recommended that she go on high doses of BioPro to build her immune system as much as they could prior to starting the chemotherapy, which, as I explained earlier, tears down the immune system. So by building it up as much as she could, she would be able to tolerate the chemo better, which she was able to do. If any of you have gone through or had a friend go through chemotherapy, you know that what happens is it tears their immune system down so much. In some cases, they have to stop the chemo for a time being until they can rebuild their white blood cells back up. Well, she was able to go through chemo without any of that. She went right through it with very little side effects. She didn't lose her hair. And she came out the other side, and today, I don't know how many years it is now, she's cancer-free. Well, she religiously uses BioPro every day, and she wouldn't be without it. She's a dear friend of my dad, and again, it's just one of those things that's really exciting to see what it does for people in their lives. Now, it's like I tell everybody, there's no miracle cure, there's no magic bullet. BioPro is just such a strong immune boosting protein that it's one of the pieces of the puzzle, but it's a major piece. It's like if you had a big jigsaw puzzle laid on the table and all the pieces were 1 inch square. You've got this one piece that you can build off of the center that's about 5 inches square. And if you put that piece in the middle, you can start building all the other pieces come into picture and into focus very easily. And that's what BioPro does. This protein, because it is the center of your immune system and it modulates your immune system, it makes anything else work better. So now, if your doctor recommends antibiotics and he's going after a certain bacteria, it will enable the antibiotics to work better. Because again, that is the job of this protein, is to synthesize or program or charge, whatever word you like, the CD4 cells in your immune system.
Mike, Frederico asks, Mike, can you talk about the reasons for taking your product? And obviously you've been doing that right away now, obviously in response to an illness. But what about a daily maintenance regimen? That's a great question. So if you wouldn't mind. So
it absolutely is. It absolutely is a great question, and that's what we actually recommend. We recommend people that are healthy, especially right now as we're coming in the cold and flu season. You know what that means if you're out of work for a week or 10 days, or even if it's 4 days. If you can avoid that by boosting your immune system and strengthening it, and go through without getting that flu, what benefit is of that to you? We recommend that everybody take this product, particularly if you're over 40. If you're under 40 and you're healthy, yeah, I still think I would take it, because you don't know what's going on in your body. I definitely think that as a regular maintenance thing, I do it. My whole family does it. It's very beneficial and very important. We all, if you're into alternative health at all, that is natural health, if you believe that the earth has given us herbs and plants for us to use to better our health, then most likely you're taking some of those on a daily basis. At the very least, hopefully you're taking a good multivitamin type product, because you cannot get enough through our food today. To me, this protein would be the one protein that I would add to my daily regimen of supplements that most of us take. Most of us understand the need for supplementation. If you develop any kind of serious illness, you know that supplementation is a critical part of recovery and helping your body cure itself. Remember, no doctor has ever cured anything. The only thing that has cured any health illness is your own body and your own immune system. Doctor can help, and doctors do wonderful jobs helping. The only thing that can cure any disease is your own body's immune system. And that's why this protein is so important and so vital.
Well, Mike,
hope that answers
awesome.
your question. I don't know if it's Federico. It says C. Federico. I don't know if that's his last name or first name. But anyway.
And he said thanks there, Mike. So
okay, great.
And we're coming up against it, everybody. It's Chris, actually, says.
Okay, Chris.
So, Chris.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Chris. We're right up against the hour, and we've tried to be pretty disciplined to make these things be an hour. Mike, this has been awesome. I'm going to actually take a little walk around here and show everybody what our new office area is going to be like, since we've got some of our staff that are in here with us. And they are all over the world, so they don't get to see this. But I'd just like to say again, anyone who's really interested, we're going to be interviewing Mike's father, Dr. Warren, Herbert Warren, on Monday. And we'll be announcing that on our blog channel. So it actually is going to be on yours, Mike. So it'll be,
yes.
I think it's, if I'm right, it's going to be at, so it'll be at alternative, I'm looking for the name here on our screen.
AHC-4 health.
Okay, there you go. At AHC4
underscore. I'm sorry, underscore.
Would somebody put that on the screen for us real quick, just so we've got it? And by the way, all of this is one of the cool things about Blab. There it is, Teresa just put on. And so if you can follow at AHC4 Health, you'll get notifications of that interview. I have interviewed Dr. Warren before. He is a hoot. He's just a fun guy. As Mike said earlier, a character was, I think, what he called him. And he is definitely that. Again, everybody, Mike's being pretty humble. And you're going to hear this from Dr. Warren too. These are not little racetracks out in Southern California where he's at. They are the two preeminent tracks. And there were three. One of them is closed down now. Hollywood Park, Santa Anita, and Del Mar in the LA and San Diego area. And the reason they have some relevance right now, guess who was trained there? Guess where he got his start? And Bob Baffert, his trainer, isn't that his resident area, Mike?
Yes, it is.
That's
yes, it is.
American
Pharaoh.
Which is our
quick part of that story. My dad was the veterinarian of the previous Triple Crown winner, Affirmed, who was trained by Laz Barrera, who was also stationed here in Southern California. So it's kind of fun that the last Triple Crown winner 37 years ago my dad was the veterinarian for it and went everywhere with that horse and was part of that history.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to flip my camera around and I'm going to walk around as we end here. I want to thank everybody for coming on board, and I'm going to just describe what you're seeing. This is a basement which we're going to be turning into our studio. We've been using it that way. You can see a tripod in front of us. Here's Brian, who's our videographer over here. Brian's a big Avalanche fan. He's got that. It's a Colorado team. None of this is really set up yet. This is a room that's about 15 feet wide and about 45 feet long. And so now you're seeing where I was just sitting and how we've got sort of set up in a temporary way for the webinar. This will be able to be a room that we can use for some teaching and instruction. This is some other of our video equipment here, but you can see I'm down at the other end. So you can see that you probably could see 15, 20 people in here for an event. We've got a little kitchen area right over here, and there's going to be a refrigerator behind the corner, a little bathroom, and then we're going to go upstairs to see what things are upstairs. And again, another reason I really love this media, this platform. You could not do this with Webinar Jam or with some of the other media. And I'm actually really seeing what we're seeing. So this would be entry area into this office area with a door going into what will be, so I'm going to open this door. Come on in. Deb's in here working. Again, we're still sort of temporarily set up right now. I'm going to walk to the other end of this room and then look back. This room is probably 25 feet by 15 also. So you can see that we're just sort of temporarily set up now. We had a really very nice installer yesterday of our internet system, who actually in this little room right here is where we got all that set up, and just kind of getting the view. Here's a look outside actually. So you walk out the door, we're right next to a trucking facility, Sunoco. So they're actually our landlords. And this is Main Street, Berthoud, Colorado out there. That's the Brick Oven Pizza that we go over. That's the fire station right next door. Obviously seeing right down here, looking back out to where the clouds, we're actually having a really windy day. So I'm going to get out of the wind. You're probably hearing that.
What's the temperature?
Mid 40s today. Denver actually got almost a blizzard yesterday morning, and we're about 35 miles north of Denver. We didn't get any snow at all. So it was very interesting. This is the front office in this area. This is what's going to be my office. The lights are not on here right now. Turn those on. And so it's got a fairly cool wood floor, some shelving units. This is an old cabin. I'm going to actually go outside now. The wind's going to be a little bit loud, but I want you to see this. This is built in the 1800s, so you're going to see a view of it from outside. So that's looking back at it, and there's the front door.
There's the hitching post.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's about ready to have, for sure. And again, about 1,500 square feet, 750 on each floor, and it'll be nice for us as we work here in town. And I just realized I hadn't unlocked that door. I almost got locked out. So that said, we'll be doing this, our Ecolonomics in Action. We're probably going to go to this format entirely. Probably we had so much difficulty. And Deb, did you ever figure out why couldn't you get online? What was the problem? Or you never could open it up? This is looking at Webinar Jam right now, just to show everybody what happens with these sometimes. And there should be a button right there that says go online, and it never came up. So she wasn't able to get online. So anybody have any parting comments? Mike, you've got anything that you want to say to sort of end up here? We sure appreciate it. Again, on Monday, we're going to interview Dr. Warren, and then every week, not on a regular day yet, maybe right after the first of the year, we might go to a regular day, but we're going to do weekly interviews as much as we can of experts in the health industry, in the alternative health industry. And we're going to start out with Dr. Warren, and then we're going to add a whole bunch of additional ones. So I'm walking back down to where we were before. I'll actually double click and go back to me. And this medium is just so cool, everybody. So
yeah, I like it. Well, thanks for having me, Wayne. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the work that your team, which mostly looks like who's left here today. Thank you, guys. We just can't say enough of the great job you guys are all doing. We really, really appreciate it from both my dad and myself. I think I'm looking at it, that's all that's left is pretty much our team here.
Yeah, it is right now.
I really, really appreciate you guys. It's amazing to me, and you're talking about a cool medium. I just think it's so cool that you guys are all around the world and all contributing to what I believe is really going to really change the world in some small way. And hopefully with all your hard work, it'll be a big way.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
At any rate, that's where we're at. I really appreciate it. And to Teresa, I know some of you guys are I don't even know the hours, but I know Teresa's probably aching to get in bed if she isn't already there.
Yeah, and the rest of these guys are working in the middle of the night. By the way, you see Hamza on there. He's holding a cricket, I think, stick there. So he's another one of our staff over in Pakistan. Bob, you got anything else to say before we sign off?
No, we're just big believers, Mike, in what you're doing, and we're going to do everything we can to get the message out.
Thank you. Thank you again. Really appreciate it.
All right, we're going to sign off, and I think each one of us have got to get off or it'll stay on. So I'm going to click off on each of you, and we'll say goodbye from Berkeley,
Bye for
Colorado.
now.
Bye-bye.